And we are live. Hello, my friends. Thanks for tuning in tonight. This is George Bruno, and I'm having a conversation with the man that you know as Bulldog Mindset. John, good to have you on the show tonight.
Yeah, glad to be here, George.
Yeah. Well, we were familiar with each other through YouTube, and we know each other's content, and there's a mutual respect. And I just love seeing younger guys coming up. Now, of course, I'm at the age where everyone's younger than me. But I love seeing guys that are shining examples of masculinity, manhood, focus, goals, killing that to-do list, and helping men. And you and I have the same goal, and that is not to compete with one another, but to help the men that are in our audiences. And you and I both have experienced the letters, the emails, the texts, the comments that say, wow, you really helped me. Tell me about your helping career. Tell me about how you have been a servant and a helper to men.
Yeah, so, it started out, I was very different than what I am today. I was very shy as a kid. I was very lazy, unmotivated. I was horrible with women. I was just afraid of women. I didn't really have any of those attributes that you would call very masculine. And I thought that's how I was, right? I thought that's, I was a software developer, so computer nerd kind of guy. And, I thought that, okay, that's just how I'm living my life and how I have to be. And I sort of like had these kind of breakthrough moments in life. Like one of them was where I remember waking up and in high school actually and thinking, why not me? Right? That was the thought that went through my head. And then I realized there is no reason why not me, right? It's like I could be like the other guys, like the jocks and the popular kids. And it's like the only thing that was stopping me, like physically I was fine. Like there was nothing really wrong. It was choices I was making. And I sort of came up with this idea of pretending to be the person I wanted to be, just like playing the role like an actor. And it turned out to be just like something I stumbled on, which was a great secret in life because it works. Because if you play a role, you eventually become the role, and it's not even fake because it's who you want to be. It's who you're meant to be, but you have all this stuff holding you back. And so I went through kind of this transformation, and it wasn't a complete transformation, right? I was doing things for the wrong reason, right? So now I wasn't like this nerdy kind of shy dorky guy anymore. I was sort of coming out of my shell, but everything I was doing for validation, to get the approval of other people, and I was getting it, and so I was happy, right? And then at some point I wasn't happy because I realized that no matter how much approval, no matter how much validation, or how much, especially from women, that I got, it didn't matter. It didn't make me feel fulfilled in life. And so kind of went through another phase. Like this is where I was really looking into personal development and masculinity. And I realized that I was an adult boy. I'd look around and see other men and I'd say, that guy looks like a man. For some reason, I don't feel like a man. And I realized that there was this big crisis, right? That we're having in society today, where men are weak, where boys don't learn how to become men, where you go into adulthood and you don't actually become a man because you don't know what it is to be a man, because we don't have that rite of initiation. We don't have those strong father figures that we've had, and society is feeding us a completely wrong message. And so I kind of went through my own rite of initiation. It was a process it involved what I call like metaphorically killing your father and developing my own value system in life. It involved taking full responsibility for my life, like getting rid of the victim mindset and saying, whatever action I take responsibility, and I will accept the consequences for my action. I feel like that's like a key component of being a man, is willing to accept your own consequences that you've brought upon yourself, and to stand by those things. And as I started to do that, I had another company called Simple Programmer where I was teaching developers software development. And I've always been kind of the guy that I have to learn things and then share them with other people. And so I was doing this with Simple Programmer. And at first it was matching up because I was teaching developers how to market themselves, how to get out of their shell, right? How to be more than just a nerdy developer. And then it started to, I got a lot of questions about dealing with women. And so a lot of my content started going that way. And then there was a point where I was like, okay, this stuff really doesn't have anything to do with software development. And I realized that, the greatest problem I think that society faces right now is weak men. And so that's where Bulldog Mindset came from. Is in my other company, a lot of guys would comment on my videos and they'd say, how do I develop that Bulldog mindset that you have, John? Right. And so that stuck with me. I said, okay, if multiple people are saying this, that's a good brand name. So I started Bulldog Mindset, switched over the channel. I still have the other company, but I made my primary focus, this mission of helping men and teaching them the things that I learned. And I felt like, because I had gone through this process myself, because I knew what it was like to be the lonely loser, low self-confidence, low self-esteem, overweight guy, and I had transformed myself to who I am now. I knew it was possible, and I knew that I could give guys hope, because it's different when you've been a jock all throughout your youth, and you're trying to tell people, oh, you can do the same thing as me. But for me, I had gone through that transition, and so that's really where Bulldog Mindset came from. And I started studying Stoic philosophy, realized how much of masculinity is just tied in Stoic philosophy. It's such a great matchup, and I really made it my mission to help men get rid of the victim mindset, because I think that's the thing that's killing them. That's this thing that's hurting them so much, and that's also the problem that we have a lot in the men's community today. Is there's so many groups, so many guys that still have this victim mindset. They're blaming women, they're blaming society, they're blaming other people. They're not looking in here and looking to see what they can do.
I like that. How are we connected as men to our physicality? You talked about transforming and that you're a different man now. Tell me how transforming the outside or the inside affects the outside.
Yeah, so I think it's something that I didn't even realize was so powerful until people started pointing it out in me, right? It was like, and some of the things were obvious, right? It's like I lost a lot of weight and I gained some muscle and things like that. But when I look back, people would comment, they'd say, oh, look back at your old YouTube videos, right? This was after I'd already lost weight and I already gained some muscle. And it's like, I look completely different in the way I speak and the way I talk, and my voice changed, and even just my mannerisms and everything changed. As you can see, that I went from someone who was not very masculine to someone who's masculine, and it was an internal change. And I feel like what happens is that your inner world is reflected in your outer world. It just, as you change that what's inside you, and here's the kind of the test for it, right? I mean, it's something that we do all the time, but we don't even notice it. If you walk down the street, you could look at a guy and you could say, that guy's a pussy. It's called the pussy test, right? It's like, or no, that guy, I wouldn't fuck with that guy. I shouldn't, and we do it in a second, right? And we assess people in a second. It's because what's internal is external. It shows itself. You can't hide it. And so, so I think there is a really, really solid connection between the two.
I was doing an interview with a gal who's a dental hygienist, and backstory is many years ago I taught a course. I developed a course. I taught in 5 colleges, and one of the courses I taught I developed called The Psychology of Career Development, and it was how to create a good resume. And I used to teach people your resume has 6 seconds to work. Literally, back in my day, you would literally send a resume in the mail, and they have a stack of resumes, and then there was 2 piles. There was the yes pile and the send a letter to them, thank you, but we hired someone else. Although what did they used to say in those rejection letters? Although your credentials are impressive, we decided to move in another direction. And so they let you down very nicely. And I used to actually save those letters too, and put 3 holes in them and put them in a binder, all the rejection letters, and that would kind of like empower me to go a little bit further. But I taught in this course that your resume has 6 seconds to work. When I was talking to the dental hygienist, she said you have about 2 seconds to make an impression. And I said it might even be 1 second. And that's what you're talking about, that spontaneous, like yes, he's a pussy, or no, I wouldn't mess with him. You size people up much quicker than you initially think. And I think that's natural. That's kind of like, that's the fight or flight thing. That's the early man kind of thing that's in us, that has been bred out of us. I think that now we want to look in depth. We rely less on intuition. There's some people that say, I've got a feeling about that guy or that gal. you know, they're probably right, most likely. And I think when we hesitate on those things, we can get ourselves into trouble. One of the areas that men get into trouble is with women.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how you size up women like that. How do we do that quickly?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's a little more difficult because women are good at camouflage, right? They've learned to be good at camouflage, right? I mean, the whole, cosmetics industry is camouflage, right? It's trying to be something or to present something you're not. I mean, and I say this not saying anything like, not knocking women in that sense, right? They're using the thing, but it's literally, I mean, you see like a clown like putting on and looks like a smile, right? And it's like, I mean, it's literally changing your face, changing those cues that we use to size someone up. So I think what we have to look at is, for women, is more of their behavior. We have to look at that very carefully, because again, a lot of what women say, I don't know. You shouldn't really trust that, but you should trust. And in general, I guess, in people in general, you should look at what they do, because that's really the indicator. And so, yeah. So I really don't think it is possible. I mean, there are some cues, right? Obviously, when you can look at certain things, if a girl has a lot of tattoos, that could mean something. You can draw something from that. If she's wearing clothes that are very slutty, you can draw another conclusion from that. But sometimes those things are wrong as well. So,
Yeah, I think in the ancient Greek, the word, I think it's hypocrite, where we get hypocrite, was used in the drama world, where people would play different characters and put on a different mask.
Yeah.
And like literally, you could put on one mask, take it away, put on another one. And that was being hypocritical. Now, we of course use that in modern society. When we say hypocrite, that means that's not congruent with who you really are.
Right.
Do you find that men and women both do that?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that I mean, you see it a lot of times in men. Well, one of the things that, like, I always try to do is judge people by their own principles and not by my principles. And that's, that's the telling thing, is like, if someone is saying something but then they're doing another. And there's plenty of times, again, I've met a lot of people on YouTube where I've met them, or I've been watching their channel, and then I meet them in person at some kind of event or something, and they're a completely different person, right? It's like they're it's a completely different, it's an act, right? And then I've got a lot of even in the entrepreneurship community, there's certain guys that I know that's like, okay, I know this guy, he's a friend of mine, right? But he's not really, because I have no idea who he really is, right? He always says the right thing. He's always doing the right thing. And he's not even necessarily trying to get something from me. It's not even that play. It's just that he's fake. He's not actually representing himself, his true value. I want to know what you really think about this thing. I really want to know what upsets you, as opposed to just saying things that are pleasant, right? And I think we have that. And the same thing also, you look at what's happening in the world today with the whole with COVID and all the kind of stuff that's going on with riots and things like that. And you see a lot of people that they don't really care about a thing, but they're fronting as if they do. And you see that all the time on social media, where they're pretending like they care, because that's not really their value. It's not really what they actually care about, because it's not where they're spending their time or their money or anything. They're just getting this feeling of significance by letting other people know that they care, or pretending that. And and I think we see that so much, right? Because when you talk to someone, someone doesn't really think this, right? But they are going to say it because it's a politically correct thing to do. And part of it, I think, is just because of the culture. Because if you commit wrongthink, there's serious penalties for that today. Whereas it's safer to choose to go along with the crowd.
It is. I'm a firm believer that charity begins in the home. And I'm sure that a lot of people, well, it's been proven in the news already, that a lot of people who are recently getting arrested as a result of these protests, they don't have their own house in order.
Exactly. Yeah.
In addition to having a very long criminal record of some very, very deviant stuff from what we're seeing. Yeah. When it comes to women, let's talk about women.
Okay.
Stay on that topic for a little bit. Some of my audience is interested in that. I have a lot of women that watch this channel as well. So we'll be speaking to them as well. There is a pandemic of weakness with men. What is the female version of that?
Of being weak with men, not.
What is the pandemic with women? What is widespread with women right now?
Yeah. So it's funny because I was just coaching a girl that had reached out to me just the other day, and she was telling me that she has she has trouble with men, right? She has trouble, and I looked at her picture and I was like, okay, really shouldn't have trouble with men. It's like, she's a good looking girl, right? And I said, well, are you what's going on? You having trouble getting dates? She's like, oh no, I get lots of dates, right? And I was like, well, what happens? What's your trouble then? And she says, oh, well, I get ghosted. And so I said, okay, tell me the truth. When you go out on these dates with these guys, like she gave me a couple of guys that she went out on dates with. I said, do you go home with them? Do they come home with you? And I said, I'm not judging you, but tell me the truth, right? And she says, oh yeah, almost every time. And it's kind of like I felt like this is something that your mom should have taught you, not me, being a guy. But I said, hey, maybe if they already got what they want, then they're not going to come back for more, and they're going to kind of see you in a particular light. So maybe you should hold back, kind of dangle the carrot a little bit, and have them like treat you with some respect, have them, have a little bit more interest. If you're just giving it to them right away, that's not. And she was actually kind of shocked by that. She's like, well, don't guys want me to have sex with them? And I was like, yeah, of course they do. But they're going to view you in a certain light based on that, because you don't have that respect for yourself, because you can't control yourself. I mean, yeah, she's like, well, I want to do it. And I'm like, yeah, that's the problem. Is like, it's fine that you want to, but you have to be able to have that discipline, because you have that respect for yourself, because they have to earn you. Right. And she was confused. She was like, well, wait a minute, these hot guys have to earn me? Like, I mean, aren't I lucky to go with the, and she's got it totally backwards, right? And it's like, it's almost the same thing like we tell men. It was weird to have this conversation with her, but as I was thinking about this, it's like, no, they need to value you and to earn, earn something from you, earn that affection from you. You're not just giving it away for free, so it has less value. And I think that a lot of women, especially with Instagram and dating apps and stuff, they're getting a lot of validation from men, and see, what guys think about this is they think, oh, well, then they have super high self-esteem. It's the opposite. They have super low self-esteem because, me as a person, right? My self-esteem comes from who I am, right? People value me. They're like, John, you're wise. You've done these things. You're a hard worker, right? Like all these intrinsic values that I have. And sure, maybe people say, oh, John, you've got a six-pack. That's great. You've got a nice physique. But that's not my true identity. I like a compliment. That's fine. It's great. But it's not my identity. But a lot of women, because they're getting so much validation, because they are putting pictures out there and they're getting that from men, they're attaching their identity to something that's external instead of internal. And when you do that, what happens is that your self-confidence is always going up and down. Because if you get a lot of compliments from men, right, then your self-confidence is up, right? And if you don't, then it goes down very quickly. Even though, you could say, these guys will say, oh, so many guys are being thirsty for her or simping to her. I don't really like those terminologies, but you know what I mean? But they're doing all this, and how could she possibly, not know that she's beautiful or whatever? And so it's because it's an addiction. It's because you have to keep on feeding that because you need more and more and more and more, because that's the cycle of validation. You can never get enough validation. And so I think the problem is a lot of women are counting on that. They don't have any intrinsic value as their identity. And so that explains the sex thing, right? Because it's like, hey, the best way to get validation is to like, this guy wants to have sex with me, and I did have sex with him, and that made him happy, and he enjoyed that. But then, hey, he's not calling me back. Bam, self-esteem drops down. So I think a lot of it is just that being tied up in the physical appearances as the identity, and getting that validation is what is the pandemic with women today.
It sounds like, when you were talking about the validation, it reminds me of the two elements of addiction, and that's withdrawal and tolerance. With withdrawal, when you don't get it, you want more of it. With tolerance, the more you get, the more you need. So it sounds like they're addicted to validation.
Yeah, I would say that's true. Yeah, and you just need more and more of it in order to feel the same about yourself. So,
I've said this: a guy can join a dating site and sit there and just swipe and put his most handsome pictures on his phone on a dating app, and maybe get 5 to 10 women responding to him. A woman can go on and get 70 in the first hour.
Right.
Of she can't even read all of them. There's so many of them. And that same woman, if she went out and about, she's not going to get 70 men. So she's getting a false sense of validation. I guess we're going back to that again.
Yeah, no, I think that's true. And it's, to some degree, that's kind of how things have always worked, right? The women, 80% of women want the top 20% of men, whatever ratio you want to get of it, but it's definitely lopsided in that direction. And, there's plenty of studies to show it, but, and guys, like 80% of guys will take 80% of women, right? So I think there's that, but it's, technology magnifies that effect. Unfortunately, social media is like one of the most destructive things that's happened to relationships in society, because it's a magnifier and it's an echo chamber. And so you can only hear, you could literally live your life only hearing what you want to hear, if you want to today, and to see what you want to see. And yeah, I think that women get this kind of inflated, they get addicted to that validation, and men are so, again, it's part of the problem is because men are so weak, so they're willing to just give that validation automatically without having a woman earn it. And and then again, like I said, with the girl I was coaching, she's looking for a top 5% guy, what I call a top 5% guy. And that's why, like, she could get a bottom 95% guy and he's not going to ghost her. But that's not, women want high value men. They want the top men. And the top men, see, and this is what women get wrong. The top men do not value women just on their looks. I know that sounds really weird, but there's a reason for it. The reason for it is because if you're a high value man and you can get a lot of women, you've had the most beautiful supermodel girl, you've had the 9s and 10s and all these really hot women, and it's a thrill at first, but once you have had it enough, you start to say, well, you know what? I kind of want to see something else. Like, I want more than just this. And so you might say, well, this girl is a 10, okay, but she's annoying. She doesn't have any, like, there's no connection I can have with this person. I could just have sex with her, and that's fine. But I've already done that before. I've had plenty of girls that were that hot. So then he says, well, there's this girl she's maybe like, he'd rate her as like a 7 or 7.5. Guys wouldn't like trip all over her. They'd say, you clearly picked a 10. But he says, but you know what? She has some value. She's very feminine. I like to be around her. She makes me feel like a man. She makes me feel like a king. I'd rather be with this girl as a 7.5 than the 10. And so the girls that are after, the women that are after the high value men, they don't understand this. And so they try to make themselves look as much like the 10 as possible, as slutty as possible, as sexually desirable as possible. And they actually develop a lot of masculine traits by doing that, because being very aggressive sexually is a masculine trait. And so they're actually killing the feminine traits that would actually make them more attractive to the high value men. Now, when they make themselves look like a 10 or, sexualize themselves a lot, they will attract the 95% of the lower value men. And those guys will do anything for them. But if they want to get the quality men, they have to be a quality woman, and they have to really understand and embrace that femininity. And again, I think part of it too is just in society today, femininity is discouraged. Women don't even know what femininity is. I've had to explain it so many times to women because they don't get it. They don't understand what it is. They're really, I think the whole feminist movement is really women trying to be men because they're valuing masculinity over femininity. And again, men that are of high value do not want that. They want a feminine woman. They want to be treated like a king. That's what they're looking for, and that's what they can get.
What is a high value man? You mentioned that several times, and there's a lot of people in the audience who want to be a higher value man. Define that.
Yeah. So what I equate it to is basically the main attraction attribute for men, for that women find attractive, which is status. And status is like a combination. Again, this is, different people are going to use a different term or vocabulary, but I define status as a combination of looks, of potentially money, but really not money itself, but the ambition that the money represents, the conquest that the money represents, and his game, or his ability to speak and to present himself socially, right? His social skills, right? And so a high value man is a man who has mastered those things, who really, I would say, is a more masculine, right? What we call the alpha male, the guy that has those masculine traits that are desirable. Because when we look at the sexual marketplace, we can't really there's kind of two marketplaces that are going on, right? There's a sexual marketplace, and then there's just the intrinsic value of a person marketplace, right? But when we look at sexual attraction and intersex dynamics, the only thing that matters is the sexual marketplace, right? It doesn't matter if you're a good person. This nice guys don't understand this, right? Because they're like, well, I'm a good person. Good, that's great. I make a lot of money. That's good, that's great. But what is it that women are attracted to? And they're attracted to masculinity, to a dominant man who's confident, who's not afraid to express his masculinity, who goes for what he wants in life, who does not make a woman the center of his life ever, and is a person who has the ability to achieve a lot of things. Some of it is genetic, right? Because some genetic traits will indicate that this man is capable of accomplishing things, of conquering other men, of being successful in that game. But some of it, a large portion of it, probably the larger portion, is who that man is, right? What he represents in life, what his values are, what kind of purpose does he have in life? I feel like a high value man, the way to become a high value man is to be a man who has a purpose in life and is driven towards that purpose and is unstoppable in achieving that purpose. Because if you just do that one thing as a man, right, then all the other pieces will come in together.
I see a common theme with a lot of people that I know. Steve, the Dean Williams, always says she needs to be worthy of your name. Coach EO says things like, it all begins with the man. AMS, Alpha Male Strategies, talks about being on your purpose. And I see this common theme that many people are saying the same thing, but they're saying it in a different way. What about for the ladies? I know what a high value man is now. What is a high value woman?
Yeah, that's something that is a little bit more difficult to define because, again, when we look at masculinity and femininity, that's a good one there. Be a leader with a passion for his purpose. I like that. When we look at masculinity and femininity, masculinity is a single thing. You can define masculinity. It only has one face. It looks like this. There's no variation in it. It is what it is. But femininity is a multitude. There's a bunch of different versions of femininity, of ways to be feminine. And so that's what makes it more difficult to explain. But at the core of it, right, of being a high value woman is being a feminine woman. Just like at the core of being a high value man is being a masculine man, right? Again, we're looking at the sexual marketplace where the value is actually seen, right? And so what I would say is, to be a high value woman, it's number one, being feminine, right? When we look at the sexual marketplace, part of that, of what we consider to be feminine is, just like men, is the genetic attributes like beauty, right? But some of that can be enhanced, throughout how a woman acts, just like the same with a man, and how she presents herself. There's going to be, a luck of the draw component to it. I have to be honest saying that yeah, a more beautiful woman is going to be considered a more higher value woman. right? But again, when we talk about, there's a threshold, and we talk about what attracts a high value man. Remember, I said it's like, 7.5 to 10 is probably okay, right, within that threshold. So you don't have to be super beautiful in order to be a high value woman, right? You just have to not be in the bottom part. That's just how it is, right? I didn't create the rules, but that's how it is. But I think the feminine part of it, which is I would consider a high value woman to be a woman who treats a man like a king, like the man that is worthy of her, that she's willing to do that, and that she acts feminine for him. She makes herself beautiful for him, right? She is a person who's working and developing herself personally to become the best companion that she can be, right? Again, none of these things that I'm talking about involve career. None of them involve making money, right? Those are things that make a man high value. And a lot of women want to believe that those things make her high value, but unfortunately they don't. They make her intrinsically valuable as a person, right? As a person, great. Give you a pat on the back. I'm glad you're doing well. But when we talk about sexual dynamics and what attracts a woman or attracts a man and what makes her high value in the man's eyes, it's that's what counts is the femininity, the attractiveness, making herself beautiful, and really working on herself, developing herself, and being willing to treat the man that's lucky enough to have her as a king.
I like that. There was a meme going around not too long ago that it was like a split picture. One side of the picture was women with like really short skirts on and high heels and a lot of makeup, like club girls. And the caption at the top was "What women think men want," and then the other half was like these very conservative, dressed women with long skirts on and hair in a bun, but pretty. And then that caption was "What men really want."
Right.
Kind of displaying that the sexes don't really, we haven't really zeroed in on what we think, or we're wrong with what we think the opposite sex wants. There's guys that, there's women who I noticed, like with women my age, as they get older, the collar lines go down further. There's more. The more available they are, the more cleavage there is, and they're kind of showing themselves as being more available, or this is what my body used to look like. I still have it. I know women that are close to my age, they're like so obsessed with proving to men that they still have it, like whatever it is. How are women wrong in what they think men want?
Well, I would say that, again, I was talking to another channel, a beauty pageant queen who was basically trying to convince me that because she has a career, because she's going somewhere in the world, she's making money, that makes her valuable, right? And that I should be attracted to that. Even Tommy Lauren, right? What did if you saw the Tommy Lauren thing, she said,
I did.
value. And I had to laugh at that, because she wants me to value what she thinks I should value. Well, it doesn't. The world doesn't work that way. It's the same charade that the nice guys are playing, saying they might as well be saying value, because hey, I'm a nice guy, so you should value me as a woman. And they get upset about that, right? And they have whole communities where they're upset and angry at women because they're not valuing value. And so what I think a lot of women think is that men value the same traits that they value in men, right? To be high status, right? To and even to some degree that high degree of sexuality, right? I think a man wants to have a woman like you showed with that meme, where underneath it all, she's smoking hot. That's great, but not showing it off, like it's for him, not for the rest of the world to see. And I think that's the key there. But so many women think that having a career, being successful, like all the things that, again, it's feminism. Feminism is teaching women to be men, and then that the better men they are, the more value they'll be to men, which is the complete opposite.
I like that. It's funny when women ask me, what do men want? My question back to them is, for what? What are you talking about? For the
Exactly.
weekend?
Right.
For a one night stand? For a lifetime together? Like, what are you attracting? I heard a very wise person. I remember the person saying it, but I don't know who it was. And they said, when you go fishing, do you put the food that you like on the hook, or the food that the fish likes on the hook? And
Yeah. Dale
if
Carnegie.
you
Yeah.
if you dress a certain way, the hiked up skirt and the cleavage, you're going to attract certain. Like I tell my audience, I like birds. I got into bird feeders and bird baths, and I have several bird feeders out in my backyard here. And I can attract larger, hardier birds by putting the bigger seeds out. The black oil sunflower seeds, the larger seeds, attract blue jays and cardinals and like larger woodpeckers. But if I want those beautiful little songbirds and the goldfinches, I put out thistle seed, which is as skinny as a pin. And depending on what you want to attract, that's the kind of seed that you put out.
Yeah.
How we dress, how we present ourselves. That's going to attract a certain kind of bird, so to speak, in our life. Speak to men about that. How are men wrong with what they think women want?
Yeah. So I think that's interesting. Like, how are men wrong with what they think women want? I haven't really considered that. Aside from the fact that, well, I mean, again, it comes back to the nice guy, right? The misconception of the nice guy, thinking that women want a guy that will make them the center of their life, right? This is I think probably the most common thing, is that where nice guys screw up is they think that women want a man that will do anything for them, that will never tell them no, that will do anything to please them, because that's how they see feminine love, right? They want a woman that would devote herself to them, to worship the ground that they walk on, and so they try to do the same thing. And again, I think it's probably a very similar thing, that we try to do the thing, like you said, baiting. You have to bait the hook to suit the fish, right? And so I think a lot of nice guys think that women either want that, and maybe they learn that, right? That's kind of the blue pill type of brainwashing that we have, of be a nice guy, be romantic, buy her flowers, let her walk all over you, essentially. And then the other extreme I think they go to is that they say, well, oh no, women just want a jerk. They just want a guy that's an asshole. And that's also not true, because what they're doing is they're associating the attributes of being somewhat selfish and not caring what other people think about yourself as being an asshole. And it just turns out that a lot of asshole guys that you would consider an asshole, they have those dominant traits, and they don't care what other people think. They're going to do what they think is right. They use their own judgment, right? And so, good or bad, right? That's the thing that women are attracted to, and men typically don't get that, right? Or you have another faction, right? You've got the kind of black pill guys that really, or incel guys that talk about, well, women only care about looks, which is such a ridiculous notion. I don't know how we even got to the point where so many guys think that women only care about looks. It's so incorrect. It's so wrong. Even when you look at, erotic fiction that women consume, it is a visual. It's not a visual thing. It's a mental thing. It's how they feel, and so all these guys are hung up thinking that they have to be chads. They have to have perfect jaw lines or perfect beard, and that's what women want. And yeah, women are attracted by a man that's attractive, but there's so much more, and that's not what you can be the best looking guy, and you can have no ambition and stutter over your words and not be able to present yourself socially, and a woman is going to reject you, whereas you could be a guy that's just an average looking guy. And again, I coach some women as well, and I've talked to them at a pretty honest level when I'm working with them, and they've told me so many stories I've heard where women will say, yeah, this guy, he walked into the gym and I thought he was ugly. And they really mean it. And then but then, I realized he was like a super masculine man, and we exchanged some flirty comments, and he was just unfazed by whatever I would say. He just he was mysterious to some degree, and then I started to feel really sexually attracted to him. And so and that's how it works. So yeah, so I think that guys have like all these kind of misconceptions about what women find attractive, because they don't realize that it's like, again, and part of it comes from not understanding what it is to be masculine, right? Because it always is going to come down to polarization, right? The polar opposites attract each other. That's how we have, and if you don't have that, then you're not going to have a strong sexual attraction between the two sexes. And so it's all about being masculine, and men are trying to figure out all these other little things. And yeah, so to some part, they're right. To some part, being masculine is having a good jawline. That it is an indicator, or having muscles. Sure. Okay. Those are parts, right? To some part, yes, having money, it's going to represent ambition or resources. Sure. To some part, that's it. To some part, yes, it is being an asshole, but what it really is being dominant. But these are all like the little pieces of masculinity that are kind of scattered out. And these guys are saying that it's this, these guys are saying that it's this, when in reality, it's the whole package.
Yeah, I'd like to say there's asshole, dominant. I like to say just being firm. And
yeah.
I like, men can go from firm to considerate. I told my oldest son, I said, how are the women treating you? And he goes, they like me. I'm a nice guy. And I said, whoa, 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 whoa. Because I immediately said, stop it with the nice thing. And I said,
Yeah.
you're a considerate guy. And he goes, yes, right. I am considerate. He says, I'm not a nice guy. And he knew where I was going the minute that word escaped his mouth.
Yeah.
And, I have an app on my phone. I like going to Outback Steakhouse. And for every fourth meal that I log on my phone, the fifth one is 50% off. I get a freebie or a free dessert or something like that. And a lot of guys have this mindset where I'm nice so many times, and then you owe me something.
Right.
It's like my brother Tony and I, we talk about someone that we know that can friend zone a woman so darn fast because he's so nice, and then he'll end up thinking that she owes him something.
Right.
And I used to have a lot of female friends, and I know guys that do that, and I always had the boundaries with them. Yeah. And I don't have them as much anymore, but a guy will do that. Will take a girl, go to the movies, go out to dinner, go Dutch on everything, and do that for 6 months. And then she refers to him as, oh, you're my big brother, or right. My brother, yeah. Like that. And then he's like scratching his head thinking, because he's racing ahead. So 6 months, they've been doing things. They're going out dancing. They're going to dinners. They're going to the movies. And then one night he goes to kiss her. And then she goes, dude, we're just friends. Yeah. And he thinks that he scored points on his Outback login app, and now he can get some dessert.
Yeah.
And it's just not going to happen. What is the cure? What is the prescription for being a nice guy?
So what you're describing, I have to give credit to Dr. Robert Glover. He wrote about it in No More Mr. Nice Guy. And he talked about the idea of what you're describing as a covert contract, right? It's this idea that like it's implied. And no one likes that. No one likes to feel like they're on the hook, like they're obligated. It's like, you're doing something for me, and now I owe you something. And I think that's what so many guys, and what it turns out is that the problem is that these nice guys who are doing these things, they're not actually nice. They're not actually considerate, as you said. They're not actually kind, because they're doing the thing to get something. And anytime you're doing something to get something from someone, they're going to feel it. They know it. Yeah. It's obligation. Yeah. No one likes to feel obligated, right? I always tell guys, I say, never let anyone put their hooks in you. Someone wants to give you something for free, pay for it, because you don't want someone to have their hooks in you, right? Because we don't like that feeling. We don't like to feel like we're on the hook for something. And so a lot of guys that are doing this, they have to really look internally and say, am I actually nice? Because if you don't get, and here's the test, if you don't get what you want, what do you think? Right? And I know it because I was there. I was the guy. Okay. I did this thing, and I would do this with women. And when they didn't respond to me in a favorable way, I would get mad and I would call them a bitch. And I, like, maybe not to their face, but internally I'm thinking all these bad things about them. And it's like, okay, this person that I just professed to love unconditionally, only because, without even knowing her as a person, right, to profess all this love for, now I'm suddenly thinking that she's a horrible person just because she's not giving me what I want. I have to really examine my own motives and say, was I actually nice at all? Was I actually considerate at all? No, I wasn't, because I didn't, it wasn't authentic. Like, if you can honestly say, oh, I would do this for someone, and then it doesn't matter how they respond, right? That's true altruism. That's true. That's being genuine. But here's the catch. The only way you can be authentic is to be selfish. If you're not selfish, you cannot be authentic, because you cannot give what you don't have. And so if I put myself first in my life, okay, and I take care of myself, and I say, hey, whatever John wants, John gets. I take care of John because I love John. John's an awesome guy. I'm going to take care of John. Okay. Then if I do something for you, I'm doing it because I want to do it for you, because I don't need anything for you, because I'm complete. I'm happy. I'm good. Right. I don't have an ulterior motive, right? So I could buy a girl dinner. Doesn't matter, because I don't care, because it doesn't matter, because I just want to do it, right? Because and that's the key. And so I think that's one element of it. Like, that's the first thing you have to work on as a guy, is to be selfish. Start being selfish. Start practicing being selfish in that respect. And by ironically, you'll become more generous, because you'll be actually authentic. It will be really, truly, because when you're a person who does whatever you want, then when you do something, it has to be authentic, because it's what you want when you do something for someone else. So you have to start there. And then it doesn't just end there, right? That's the first place, because again, that's the internalization of what a lot of guys would call the asshole mindset, right? You don't have to be a jerk. You can still be considerate and be that person, okay? But then there's a second element, which is being aggressive, right? Which is going for it, right? When I coach guys, I tell them, hey, if you're on a date with the girl, when you go to the restaurant, you move the chair, like you sit next to her. You don't sit across from her, right? You're setting the tone already, right? When you're having a good conversation, you put your arm around her, you touch her shoulder, you put your hand on her knee, you take the risks, right? And guys don't want to take the risk because they don't want to face the rejection, okay? Maybe she's like, hey, and you're like, okay, whatever. It's a better place to be than being the nice guy, right? Because you can always try again, whatever. If she's sticking around, she's if she wants to get out there, she'll get out there, right? And then and then take some risks, like move the conversation into a more sexual tone. Like, don't be afraid of your sexuality. So many men are afraid of their sexuality, and so it's like you're saying, it's like they're this cute little teddy bear, and then all of a sudden, I mean, I try to be not too graphic, but the teddy bear pops a boner. That's a shock. Didn't expect the teddy bear to pop a boner. That's okay. It's creepy. It's weird, right? But it's like what's that movie, Swingers, where he's like, I want you to be the guy in the rated R movie, that everyone, you're not sure if you like. Don't be the PG-13. But it's so true. And so and then always go for the kiss. Always go for it at the end of the night. Maybe she'll dodge. It doesn't matter. Like, she'll give you credit for having balls, for going for it on the first date. Every time, take the shots, because that's what it takes. Like a man, and again, when we look at like creepy versus smooth, the difference is where the risk lies. So if you do something like, let's say, I had a guy that he was like, oh, I was on the bus, he emailed me, and he's like, there was this cute girl, so I kind of like leaned on her, brushed against her, and was like, kind of pretend like I was going to sleep to, and I was like, dude, that is creepy. Like, it would have been better if you sat down, saw the girl that was attractive on the bus, and say, hey, do you mind if I sit here? And then put your hand on her knee and said, hey, do you mind if I, whatever, or put your arm around her and said, hey, I'm from wherever, and just been a friendly guy and been directly physical. She wouldn't have thought that. She might have like said, hey, wait a minute, but she wouldn't have thought it was creepy, because bold isn't creepy. Because when you just like brush against a girl, or whenever you say something, or you're like buying her dinner and you're not taking the risks, some of those things end up, or just staring, you know, across the bar, like just you know, peeping instead of actually going up to her. The risk is on her, because she feels uncomfortable and she has to reject you, and feel that discomfort. The risk is on her. Like you're doing something to her, you're making her uncomfortable. Whereas if you go up and you talk to a girl, you're taking the risk. So it's not creepy. It's never creepy to just open and just to say hello, or even to just to physically touch, like where she can see your hand and you're making the touch, as opposed to, you know, sneaking it in there. So the whole thing that I think, you know, guys need to understand is that you have to be bold. You have to take risks. You have to, like, when you face rejection, there's a certain amount of respect that women have for you, and they say that's a man, right? Even when, you know, so many times, like you might even go for the kiss and she might rebuff you, but then you try again and then she gets crazy all over you, because the first time that you went for it, she wasn't ready for it, but she said, oh, damn, that guy's got some, yeah, I kind of like that, right? It got her going. And then she's like, I hope he tries it again. And then you do. And so you got to take that risk, right? So many guys are afraid of rejection, so they're not taking a risk. You got to take the risk.
I've been watching a YouTube channel called Good Guys to Great Men, and it's a man who's got a ranch out in Loveland, Colorado. I'm guessing he's about my age, and he and a younger fella do these retreats. And they take lost men and they spend a weekend or several days with horses. And you don't control a horse with force. You control one guy was talking about horses don't like force and they don't like loud noise. Hence the movie that was very popular years ago called The Horse Whisperer. And this overt power where the woman doesn't win her over. And he finds the most powerful horse, because they're just big, powerful creatures. I mean, when you're near a horse, they're just amazing creatures. And you can be yanked. The strongest man can be having a tug of war with a horse. And then the man who knows horses can go up and say, follow me. And the horse just walks behind him like it's nothing. And I find that there's a wisdom in that. And he was teaching married men who lost communication with their wives how to win their wife back. Do not, he said, do not use volume when speaking with her. Don't come closer to her and beg her. No more pleading. He says, you got to back away like you do with a horse. Yeah. And it sees you not as a threat, then it'll walk towards you. And that's antithetical to what the troubled marriage man thinks, that he's got to start stalking his wife and put a GPS tracker on her car and checking out her texts on her phone and all this kind of stuff. And he teaches almost the exact opposite. Speak to the man right now who's in a marriage that might be dull, might be dry. It's not what it used to be. Maybe the kids are grown. They are going to listen to you because they're desperate right now, John. Talk to them.
Okay. This is what I would say. So instead of focusing on her and what she's doing, focus on you. Start becoming the man that you want to be, right? And not for her, for you. Okay. Because if you're doing like what your problem is that you're doing all these things to win her. You're doing them to please her. You're walking on eggshells right now. Okay. Because you're afraid to upset her, because you're afraid you're not going to get sex. You're afraid she's going to respond in a negative way. You have to stop focusing on her and start focusing on you. And you really have to stop walking on eggshells. You have to allow conflict to happen, and you have to allow her to be displeased with you and be okay with that, because she's going to test you. Women always test you. No matter how long you've been in a relationship, they're going to test. They want to see that you're a rock. They want to see that no matter what kind of emotional storm that they kick up, that you're going to be present, that you're going to bear the storm, and you're going to be there afterwards, right there, loving her regardless. So you're not going to get into it. You're not going to become emotional. They're going to try and make you become emotional, right? And that's a lot of the problem is women lose attraction from men that become emotional, that feed into it, but they have to test you constantly to see if you're that rock, because they want to rock. And the biggest thing that turns a woman on sexually or makes her sexually available is safety. She wants to feel that she's safe with you. She can only be safe with a man that is on his own purpose, that knows who he is, and that she cannot bend and manipulate. If she can manipulate you, she can use her sexuality against you. If she can use her anger against you, if she can cause you to shake off of that rock and become emotional, she cannot trust you, because she knows that the world and other people will be able to do that. And she knows also that she can't trust what you're saying, because it's not your true what you truly think. She wants a leader. She wants a man who she can 100% trust. And the only way that she can trust you is if she knows that you are willing to stand against her, that you're willing to stick to your guns regardless of what the consequences are. Again, it's not threats. It's not force. It's not dominance in that way. It's dominating yourself. It's being a man of discipline. It's being a man of your word and your integrity, and not groveling, not asking, not begging, and saying, hey, look, this is, if you don't give me what I want, that's fine. I don't have any expectation on you. It's releasing the expectation. You can do whatever you want. But at some point, if I'm, and it's not saying it, it's meaning it. If at some point, if I'm not getting what I want, what I need, then I'm not going to be here. I'm not going to be with a person who does not respect me as a man. And my feet, I'll walk. I won't threaten it. I'll just walk. And she knows it because you mean it and you don't have to say it. And that's what's so key, is because right now you're bending over backwards. You're trying everything. You're trying to control her. If you're checking her texts on her phone, all those things, let her be free. Let her do whatever she wants. Because here's the other piece of this, right? Again, I tell guys this all the time. Do you want a woman to let you have sex with her, or want to fuck you? There's a really big difference, okay? A huge difference in the quality. And yes, if you play the nice guy tactics and you negotiate desire and you do the dishes and stuff, she may lay there like a starfish and let you have sex with her. She may let you, but she's not going to want to. And if I'm in that situation, I want to be out of that situation. You have enough respect for yourself as a man to say, look, I only want to be with someone who wants to be with me. And so if this person doesn't want to be with me, I'm going to let them go. It doesn't mean that you give up on your marriage. It doesn't mean that you give up on this. It just means that you have that and within yourself, and you have that respect and dignity for yourself, that you say, look, if you don't want to be with me, it's okay. It's okay for you not to want to be with me. I'm okay with that. I'm strong enough. I have enough self-confidence. I have enough within myself to sustain myself. And hey, maybe that means that I'm going to have to use my feet and walk. It's not a threat. It's just because I'm going to seek what's best for me in my life, and you should do the same thing. And so if you can have that attitude and really mean it, then it's almost like you have to be willing to let something go in order to attain it, right? And if you can truly reach that point of what I call non-attachment, then only then can you rekindle that flame. And maybe it won't. Maybe it will turn out that, hey, maybe you weren't supposed to be together, and maybe it's not going to happen. But that's the only way that you're actually going to regain her true desire for you, if it's possible.
I love that. And a lot of people are kind of nodding, and I can tell in the comments right there, there's a lot of people that are agreeing with it. That one guy said he gets tested daily. I heard somewhere recently that ballroom dancing is like tango especially, is a dance of pressure, where a man puts his hand up and a woman will mirror that. But she doesn't want to feel this mushy arm. He's got to be firm, and she wants to feel that firmness as he turns her around. It's a dance of firmness and pressure, and she responds to the pressure. And you hear women talk about a good dance partner. Who is the best dance partner? It's not the guy with the fanciest moves. It's the guy with the most pressure when she plays against him. Anything that a person, if you know anything about tango, it's described like this: the man is the frame and the woman is the picture in the frame.
Okay, yeah.
Isn't that a trip? I mean, the frame can make or break a painting. You know, if
Right.
if you know, if a Van Gogh painting is sitting in a Walmart frame, it's not going to make it. So there's something about that frame, and of course we use the word frame in the manosphere, which is another word that I hate to use, but I think that's powerful. A friend of mine, Texas Dom, who you're going to meet at the convention in about a month, he told a story of having some problems with his wife, and I'm going to paraphrase this because I don't know the exact words he used, but he said he needed to grow a pair of balls because there was always this threat: she's going to go. If he doesn't perform, she's going to go. If you do this again, I'm out the door. You know, women love, I'm out the door. They say that.
Right.
And one time he said, if you leave, I'll be okay. And she stopped
Yeah.
in her tracks because he did not
Yeah.
respond to that little shit test.
Right.
And he said that was the
Exactly.
beginning of the turnaround of their marriage. And this is
Yep.
they've got grown children. They've been married many, many years, decades. And a man remaining firm, strong, creating that pressure
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
is the key to the longevity of that relationship and the respect. That takes me to this. I've heard it said that women want to be loved and men want to be respected.
Mm-hmm.
Comment on that.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a truth to that, except that the confusion is that most people don't understand what respect is, and they don't understand what love is in those contexts, right? So that's why I always say, like, the thing I always say is that, and I was just talking to a friend of mine about his girlfriend because he was trying to decide if he wanted to stay with his girlfriend or whatever, and I said, number one question I'm going to ask you, my man, I said, does she treat you like a king? And he said, oh yeah, she treats me like a king. And that's how I equate it, right? Because when we say respect, I think there's a lot of different connotations that come to that. But to me, it's like men want to be treated like a king. And what does that mean? That means that for a man, he wants the woman to make him feel like a man, like he's a big, strong man, right? In fact, when I was coaching women, I say, make the guy feel like a big, strong man. Okay, that's what you got to do. The guy that, because guys will cheat on their wife with a secretary that's not as attractive, right? Because she respects him, she makes him feel like a man, like a powerful man. And the women that are really manipulative and tricky, they know how to do that. They know how to push that button because they know that's what guys want. Okay, and so that's what it comes down to, is that for a man, he wants to feel like a man. He wants to feel like he's powerful, like the woman that he's with sees him as a king, as a lion, as ferocious, right? And really, in that sense, respects him. Not the respect in the sense that, like, we usually use the term respect, I think. And then on the other side, with the love, I think, again, guys confuse this, because when we say love, it's like it means so many things. It's like, I would do anything for you. It's like, I am so attracted to you. That's not love. The love that a woman is looking for is the kind of, no matter what kind of shit I do, no matter what kind of a mess or a wreck I am, or how emotional I get, or how crazy I get, especially that time of the month, or whatever it is, right? You're going to be there as a rock, and I can still come to you, and you're just waiting for the storm to pass, and then you're gonna embrace me, give me a hug, or twirl me around and make my day better, and just like it's not gonna affect you, like you're like because a woman is always looking to say, how bad can I be before he doesn't love me anymore, and she wants to figure that out, so she purposely acts out, she purposely causes you pain as a man to see, will you still be around? Are you still going to be here? Are you still going to love me, even if I'm this crazy bitch? Because she knows what kind of crazy bitch she is, and she's hiding that crazy bitch self of herself, the feminine, because that's part of the feminine, from the world, because she's afraid that everyone will reject her if they know who she really is. And so when she's looking for a man, when she's looking for love in that sense, she's looking for that kind of love, for the guy that says, I don't care how crazy you are. I don't care what kind of whacked up, whatever you think that you're not worthy of, I'm here.
I like that. Let's shift gears for a second. let's talk about men and their bodies. Now, I had sent your either Instagram or YouTube channel to somebody, and they thought you were Athlean X.
I'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah, I was going to say, what a great compliment. What guy wouldn't? And obviously, a lot of work. You don't look like Michelangelo's David, by doing nothing or eating pizza, and drinking a six-pack every night. A lot of work has gone into how you look. You have a great physique. Your physicality is incredible. And talk to the guy who just looks at a guy like you and says, man, I only wish I could be like that. Talk to that guy.
I can do one better. I can pull up my Dropbox and give you a before picture here if you want to.
Oh, that's great. Wow.
Let me just pull this up real quick here, because you know what? I was for most guys, okay, not everyone, but for most guys, I was probably worse than you were, probably. So let's see. I'll pull up a picture here. Here's a good. Okay, let me see if I can share this. Okay. Share Chrome tab. Okay. So here we go. Can you see that? Let's see. Is that coming through? Oh yeah. Okay. So yeah. So that's, here's a couple pictures. That was me.
Wow.
Right there. There we go. That was me. So
John. Wow. For real. Everybody, Are you seeing this? John, I have to say this. This is quite a before and after.
Yeah.
This really is.
Yeah.
What happened? What flipped a switch inside of you that made you say, okay, this is no longer acceptable?
For me, it was, I got to this point where I remember going to the store and I had, I went to buy some size 46 pants and I was wearing my 44s.
You said 46?
Yeah, 46.
Yeah. Wow.
And so, my 44s didn't fit me anymore. And up until that point, I could kind of look in the mirror and I could be like, yeah, okay, just a little bit of, beer belly, whatever, not a big deal. I had a little bit of muscle. I was like, yeah, you're just a big guy. I could say, maybe get a little bit of weight, not a big deal, right? You could lose it. But at the point where I bought the 46, that was like, hey, look, okay, John, got to tell you something, buddy. You're fat, right? You're fat. You're disgusting and you're fat. And I realized, and at that point, I was like, okay, look, because we always, I say this all the time. It's like everyone thinks they're going to be a rock star someday, right? Everyone thinks that they're going to have sex with beautiful women, that they're maybe going to be a movie star, they're going to make a lot of money, right? All of these things, right? We think someday, right? But I realized, I was like, you know what, John? None of that shit's going to happen for you. I'm sorry, buddy. I got to tell you, you're kind of disgusting, all right? And you're pretty lazy, not very motivated. Money's, all these things are not just going to fall into your lap. And that's where I said, no more. Like, if I get one shot at this life, and if I want to get those things in life that I keep on thinking I'm eventually going to get someday, I better do something to make that shit happen. And so from that day forward, I said, I'm going to lose this weight. And, I ended up losing, I think it was like close to 100 pounds within like 6 months. And but at that point I was super skinny. Like I wasn't like, I needed to gain muscle again. And I went through that process. But yeah, so, it came down to just saying enough is enough, right? It's like, because this is the other thing. It's like, first of all, no one cares. I don't mean to seem harsh, like, but in the bigger scheme of things, no one gave a fuck that I was fat. No one cared. No one was going to help me. No one cared about me, right? In that sense, like that's my problem to deal with, right? And so, that's a message I would give to a lot of guys. Is like, look, no one cares, and no one's coming to save you. So if you want something, you're going to have to do it. You're going to have to take it up, and you're going to have to make it happen, right? And that's where I got to. I got to that point, and I decided what I was going to be. And then and then part of it too, like that physical transformation, like in a lot of what I do, today, like I'm up here in Flagstaff right now. I'm training for a 100-mile race. I'm going to be running 100 miles. And it seems like a completely impossible thing. Like I thought running a marathon would be impossible, but why I'm doing a lot of what I'm doing now, and it results in in a good physique, is because of the mental discipline of who I become when I do these things, right? And it's like you have this respect for yourself. You start to, like, when you let yourself go, when you don't have that. And again, you don't have to have six-pack abs and all that. I'm not saying that you have to, but if that's what you want, you should get it. But when you let yourself go like that, and you don't care enough about yourself and your image to put in the work, it's like you don't respect yourself, and you're not going to respect yourself in other areas, and you can't expect other people to respect you if you don't. But you know what? When I wake up in the morning and I'm like, damn, John, you're a guy that ran 50 miles. You're a guy that, like, doesn't miss a workout and did all these things and did this hard shit that you wanted to quit, but you kept going. I have a respect for myself, right? And so that carries forward, is because I know who I am, right? I don't need someone else to tell me who I am. I know who I am. And so a lot of it comes from that, is having that respect and deciding that you're going to have the respect for yourself and becoming what you want to be. And so, yeah, so for me, that was it. It was like I got to that point and I realized, look, if I want to have the life I want to have, I have to do the work.
Another common theme, doing the work. And a lot of guys are afraid of that. What about talk to someone who isn't disciplined? They're not used to doing the work. They're used to their hands in a bag of Doritos and eating pizza. How would you inspire them?
Well, I mean, I would hope that picture would inspire to some degrees, knowing that probably I was worse than you were, or even if you're worse, you're probably not far off from my before picture, right? So if I can get to where I am, you can get there as well. And here's another thing. You know what? The world is superficial, okay? And your life will be 100 times better when you look good. It will. People will want to be your friend. They will treat you better just because, again, I'm not saying it's right, but I'm just saying that's what it is. And so it's a worthwhile goal. But what's more worthwhile than that is the respect that you'll have for yourself, because you wake up every morning right now and you hate yourself to some degree. You hate that you can't be happy putting your hand in the bag of Doritos and knowing that you could be more. Like, you have one shot to reach your potential. You have to do it. You have to take that step. And in that process, in that journey, and the most exciting thing about it is who you'll become in that process. Because in order to make that transformation, in order to do that thing, and again, so many people set their goals wrong. Your goal should be not what you get. It should be what you become. That's the key. And so if you set this goal of transforming your body and transforming yourself, you will become something so much more in what you're meant to become, because you weren't meant for this. You weren't meant to be, everyone has a kind of narcissistic viewpoint of themselves, thinking that they in some way are great. So all you have to do is tap into that greatness, because I do believe it. I believe that every one of us is great, but we have to make that potential a reality. And so it's your job. It's your job to do that. And not only will you be missing out in your life and to see what your life could be if you don't do it, but other people who you could inspire, that could look up to you, that could change their life, you're robbing them as well. So yeah, so that's what I would say.
Wow, I like that. You're robbing them. Powerful. And the final switching of gears, let's talk about money and wealth. Is it about hard work or is it about mindset? What are your thoughts?
Well, it's really hard to put in the hard work without the mindset, I would say. So you have to have the mindset first to do anything, because the biggest thing, I think, one of the biggest secrets in life, or the best skill that you can have in life, is to learn how to work without motivation. Because you know what? Every single thing that I've achieved, both financially and any great success in life, it's always been a fucking grind. It's a grind. And you have to learn to love and tolerate the grind. That's one of the things I love about endurance running a 6-hour run, is it's training me for the grind. It's like, that's boring. No one wants to run for hours and hours. You don't feel like that, but it's the grind. And that's what success in life, and especially financially. It's not all, I run multiple businesses now. I've invested in real estate. All that shit was a grind. It was, there's periods of fun. Like, I like this. I like doing a, interview, talking to an interesting person and sharing. But most of what happens in business is a grind. It's stuff that you don't want to do every day. You wake up and you got to go and do it. And when you have a job, you do it because you have to. When you're an entrepreneur, you really want to make the money. You do it because you choose to, and you're still it's not gonna be fun. Like, if you're always following your passion, always following that, and again, the other part of it is that hard work isn't enough, because I'm pretty sure the guys that flip burgers at McDonald's, they work pretty damn hard every day, but they're not going to become rich. They're not going to become successful.
Right.
What's the difference? Well, the difference is that you have to also work in the right direction, right? Which is usually going to do the more risky thing, right? The thing that you could fail at, because you get a job at McDonald's. All you got to do is follow the process. You're going to work hard, but you're not really going to fail. And you're not going to fail in such a sense that your ego is going to be on the line. It's not a big deal. But when you go out and you become an entrepreneur, or you try to invest in real estate or something like that, it's on you. Like, that failure is personal to you, and you don't know. It's not guaranteed the result. You're not necessarily going to get paid. And so you have to combine the hard work with that risk. That's why we get paid. That's why people get upset that that sometimes millionaires and billionaires make so much money, and it's like, well, what about the workers? Well, the more important thing than hard work is the risk, is taking the risk, like being able to tolerate that risk. And so I think that's key. And then there's a luck factor, right? But the thing about the luck factor is, we all get, already, whoever's watching this, I can tell you, you have had a opportunity in your life. You've had the luck. It's already come. You've had a chance to make $1 million or whatever it is, but you weren't ready for it, and you didn't recognize and seize on the opportunity, because they come and go. I've had so many opportunities in my life. Some of them I've taken, and they've taken me really far financially, and some of them I've missed, and I've looked backwards knowing what I know now, and I could see that was my lucky break, and I missed that lucky break. But they're going to come. There's more coming. But here's what you need to do. You need to learn how to work without motivation, learn to love the grind, okay? Make yourself wise, not just knowledge, but wisdom, okay? And prepare yourself. And then it's going to be like a surfer, right? You see the surfers in the ocean, and if you've ever surfed before, you look behind and you see that wave coming, you see that set coming, and so you start paddling in front of the wave, right? And then when the wave meets you, you're ready for the wave, and you go and you get that nice juicy ride, right? You got to be like that. So you got to be ready. And then you're going to see that wave coming in. When that luck finally comes, you've been waiting for that luck, you're going to be ready to ride it.
I love that. I heard Robert Schuller talk about making yourself irreplaceable. This is probably 30 years ago. He says if a floor sweeper quits, you can advertise, put an ad in the paper, or now on Craigslist, and replace that floor sweeper in 24 hours. But if a brain surgeon quits, it could take 18 months to replace him. So yeah. Some stations in life are more easily replaced. How does a man make himself more replaceable on the job? Not everybody's an entrepreneur. I happen to be an entrepreneur. I work for myself, and I have a part-time job, and I do YouTube and such. How does a man who is 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, how does he make himself irreplaceable? How does he translate that grind into wealth, rather than just doing, what do they say, the 40-40 plan, 40 hours a week for 40 years? Talk to the man who's not gonna start a business or invest. What can he do on his job?
So I'll tell you what, this is the number one thing that'll make you irreplaceable wherever you work, is to be the person who makes everyone else more effective. If you're the person who comes in and who helps everyone else, who mentors them, who gives your time and your knowledge to them, not the guy who guards knowledge. See, what your dad told you is wrong, okay? Because, I don't know, our fathers meant well, but a lot of times I've heard the message of, hey, you learn something and you don't share it. You keep it secret so that they have to keep you around because you got that secret knowledge. That's the wrong thing. You share it, you give that knowledge out, you make everyone else on your team better, and you're irreplaceable. Because any job that you have, any knowledge that you have, that could be replaced. But the guy I will always hire, the guy that I will never fire, is the guy that makes everyone else on my team better, because it's impossible to replace that guy.
Wow, that is absolutely powerful. I tweeted something similar to that the other day where I said, if you want to get to the top, help somebody else get there. I like that. Don't guard the knowledge. Wow. That can be a whole show in and of itself, because literally there's a large part of the population, and I'm sure a large percentage of my audience, that just works a job every day. And it's a grind and it's boring, and they feel hopeless and so forth. But like I said, I can't believe how fast the time has gone. But I can't wait to shake your hand. I look forward to it in about a month. Thank you for joining me tonight. A lot of people benefited from it. How can they find out more about you?
Yeah, so the best thing is just to go to bulldogmindset.com. When you go there, a little pop-up will ask if you want to take the Bulldog quiz. Go ahead and take that quiz, because I'm going to give you a score from 0 to 100, tell you how much of the Bulldog mindset that you have. There's questions on finance, on women, on social skills, and physicality, reading books, like stuff that will really tell you if you're on the right path or not. And if you get a low score, it's not a problem, because I'm going to send you some information on how to raise that score. But yeah, bulldogmindset.com. And from there, like I said, you'll get in communication with me. I'll send you YouTube videos and all kinds of content. So
I love that. Well, until we do it again, which will probably be after the conference in about a month, thank you so much for joining me. I learned a lot tonight, and I know my audience did. Thank you, John.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.